Korean fully on the internet, by myself, without joining a single course or buying a single book. And my study method got me a 5 in Topik, which later, when I got the Korean government scholarship, meant that I saved a full year of not studying Korean but going straight to my master's degree. This is how I did it and how you can do it too. Hi, I'm Hello, and today I'm going to talk about how I got obsessed with studying Korean and how I got good enough to actually get into a master's program at Chungang University, get a scholarship, and be able to study, date, and live fully in Korean for 2 years. 하지만 시작하기 전에 일단 한국말로 말을 해야 될 것 같아요. 그냥 증명하기 위한 거예요. My Korean is not perfect, but you know, it's good enough. Step 1, getting obsessed. Korean is such a cool language. I think the writing system is really cool. It's poetic, it's funny, it's really expressive, and it's also completely different from any other language that I knew before. And that's why I got so interested in it. And I know a lot of people who are really obsessed about like K-pop and K-dramas, and yeah, me too. But the thing that actually like hooked me was the language, and also BTS and this game show called 아는 형님 was kind of part of it as well. So I was listening to BTS like a little bit now and then, and I was watching their music videos because I think they're amazing. So that's kind of like how the YouTube algorithm started showing me other BTS content. And I watched this game show where they were guests. It was like 2 hours long. It was all on YouTube. I don't think it's up there anymore. And they were just like talking, joking in Korean, and I was like, this language seems cool. I like languages. I want to learn a new language, which has nothing to do with the European languages that I already know. So I was like, yeah, okay, let's start. And I downloaded this app that was like, it wasn't Duolingo, but something similar. And my sister immediately the first evening got like annoyed with me because I was like speaking out loud while using the app. And she was like, how long is this gonna last? Well, it lasted a long time. So I think the takeaway from this is that you obviously can't fake genuine interest, but if you feel yourself getting really interested in something, like embrace it. Let yourself get obsessed, maybe take some time off other hobbies if you can, and just like ride the wave of that motivation that you have for that one thing. Step 2, making it my escape. This is also something that I'm not sure if you can fake, like it happens if it happens, but it helped me a lot with learning Korean quickly. And it's the fact that I started learning during COVID, and I was working remotely, and you know, I had this job with like really fun colleagues and we used to have fun at the office, but now that was all gone. It was all boring. Like, luckily I had my sister and her dog, so I had some company, but otherwise my life was pretty boring. So my escape from my reality was learning Korean. So if you can make your kind of the thing that you use to distract yourself useful as well, like learning a language, that's like a gold mine, seriously. Like when you're taking a break, you're learning a language. Like when you're out walking the dog, you're listening to a podcast in that language. Like if you can kind of figure out ways to kind of passively or like with like low effort learn the language while you're relaxing, you're gonna learn so fast. Step 3 was that I learned the basics and grammar. And here I want to shout out Talk to Me in Korean. They have this podcast which is free. Like they start with like the super basic with like 감사합니다, 안녕하세요, like all of this like super simple stuff, and then they also bake in like basically all the grammar, basic grammar that you need to know. And I hate grammar. I think it's stupid, and I don't think people should waste a lot of time learning grammar, but it does help you to just like know the basic grammar structures, the rules, the basic things, like at least like one time go through all of that. And for that, the podcast was amazing. I was just listening to it like when I was out with my sister's dog Notte, and I would just walk around like our neighborhood just like repeating the stuff, and I would like speak Korean to the dog, and you know, yeah, Good times. And the podcast comes with a PDF, so you can also see everything visually in case you're more of a visual learner. But I would say even if you are a visual learner, languages are oral, like, well, yeah, oral and auditive, like you hear them. So even if you are a visual learner, I think then it's even more important that you use podcasts to learn, to like strengthen up your listening skills as well. Step 4, a lot of content. And if you're learning Korean, this is not hard because the internet is full of stuff in Korean. Interviews with like celebrities, there's so many dramas just on Netflix, like available anywhere. There's like song lyrics if you're into that. Imagine how amazing you can just binge watch TV series, and that's like productive time because you're learning a new language. And sometimes I would just watch. Sometimes I would watch like with the Korean subtitles or something like this. And sometimes I would kind of pause and like write down phrases and stuff. And that was great because when I kind of heard the phrase again, I would think about the context. I would think about the moment in this drama or movie where this phrase was said. And that's like one of the key things I think for learning vocabulary, is to have a context for each phrase and word. Because if you just have them like separately, like flying around in space, not attached to anything, you know, like some visual memory, some emotional memory, then you're gonna forget them right away. But if you have this character who's like, 미쳤어?
미쳤어?
Then you're of course gonna remember, like, are you crazy? Because, you know, it's an emotional memory. Step 5, conversation. This is probably the thing that most people are kind of skipping, and that's why you're not actually learning to speak the language, because you're never speaking it. Later I'm planning to make a video about like unrealistic and realistic language learning, and this is like probably by far the biggest, like weirdest mistake that people make, that they keep learning language but they never actually speak it, and then they get into this moment where they're like with a native speaker and they're supposed to say something and they just can't get the words out. Well, obviously you can't, because you've never done it before, or you haven't done it nearly enough to actually be able to produce those words in that moment. So just speak. What I did was to go on italki. This is a website where you can find tutors that you can talk to, and you pay them a little bit of money and you have like a FaceTime with them for an hour or 45 minutes. I know it can be a little bit like nervous at first, but once you find someone who's nice and you're gonna vibe with them, it's just gonna feel like talking to a friend. And just speak to them. Like, it doesn't even have to be like structured like lessons or anything. It can just be like natural conversation, and then when like new words come up, you write them down and you like look at them, and maybe you write a few sentences using them or something so you won't forget them. But basically it's not even about learning vocabulary, it's just about speaking. It's about forming sentences in your head that you say out loud and listening to the other person say something back, and doing that process over and over and over again. So, in summary, just speak. And when you don't have the chance to actually talk to someone who speaks the language, just make up sentences in your head. I bet I'm not the only one who has this kind of like inner monologue going on, like I'm kind of creating sentences in my head or like saying things in my head or out loud. Maybe I'm just weird. So I started doing that in Korean instead. Like, obviously the sentences were terrible and childish, but I would just make sentences and kind of like a broken record, kind of have the same words and sentences on repeat in my head and kind of try to like speak to myself in Korean. Step number 6, Topik. After about 11 months of learning Korean, just for fun, yeah, obsessing about it a little bit, but I didn't really have a goal or anything. I didn't have a structured way of studying. I decided to do the Topik test. I found out that it was 6 months until the next Topik test in Finland. So I was like, okay, let's start studying actually. So I got myself another tutor on italki. So the first tutor that I have was just a girl. I love her, by the way, and we became friends after, and we were like hanging out in Korea when I lived there. But this other tutor that I got was like specialized in prepping for Topik. She would have me write these essays, and then she would tell me how to write better and tell me all of the mistakes that I was doing and kind of telling me what kind of vocabulary I needed for the test. When I took the Topik test, it didn't have a speaking section. I've heard that it has one now. It was just listening, reading, and writing. The listening part, I kind of had it down. So what I focused on most was just vocabulary and writing. I'm not gonna go too much into like the strategies with the Topik test. I might do that in a future video. I recommend to just like focus on the writing and the vocabulary that you need for writing. In the reading section, there's gonna be like long text and you're definitely not gonna know all the words. But just practice reading, learn as much vocabulary as you can, and kind of practice like guessing in places where you don't know the vocabulary. Not like getting stuck on a single word that you don't know, but just kind of skimming through. But the writing thing is actually where people struggle the most. Just practice writing. It doesn't have to be like at all like beautiful thoughts or anything like artistic about the stuff you write. It just has to follow these principles and have an introduction and an ending and stuff like that. So it's very mechanical. I studied for 6 months with intention. I did it. My goal was to get a 4. So it's like from 1 to 6 are the levels. And I was so nervous, and the results came in like a month later, and I was at work and I was like looking it up, and I got a 5. I could not believe my eyes. It was like, the points are that you can get are like 300 something, and I got 9 points over the 5 mark. I didn't even realize it then, but those 9 points, which gave me the Topik 5, saved a year of my life. Because later when I got a scholarship, basically if you have a 4 or less in Topik, when you get the scholarship you have to do a language class first, which is 6 months to a year. But since I got Topik 5, I could go straight to my master's degree, and I saved like 1 year or at least 6 months of my life. So that was my triumphant Topik journey. Then I applied for the GKS scholarship, I got it, I moved to Korea, I studied film there, it was tough, and then I met a guy who was also studying film at the same university. We started dating, we dated for over a year, and that is point number 7. Date someone or get friends who don't speak English that well. If you come to Finland, everyone will speak English to you because everybody knows English, but in Korea, not everyone is comfortable speaking English, and that is a good thing. Because when I met this guy, my Korean was better than his English, so we were just speaking Korean all the time. That was kind of the last nail in the coffin. Wait, nail in the coffin is a bad thing. That was the last cherry on top for my Korean journey. Up until then, I knew Korean, but it didn't feel like natural the same way as I'm speaking Finnish or Swedish or English. Like, I just speak. I kind of had to like concentrate a little bit when I was speaking Korean, but dating someone and like talking every day and having fun and relaxing together in that language, that's how you become completely fluent. You can do it with friends too, but you need someone who you're like speaking Korean to on a regular basis, who you're close with. And that will kind of make you fully fluent. So this is my story of how I learned Korean. I know a lot of these things kind of happened by accident. I didn't plan all of this. That's what life is like. You can't plan every kind of turn of events. You can't replicate everything that someone else has done, but you can find your own journey. And I hope some of these things that I told you will maybe help you or inspire you in your journey of learning Korean or any other language. My Korean is not perfect, and it has never been perfect, but it's been good enough that I've been able to live and to date, to get good grades, and to even direct 2 short films in Korean. My definition of fluency is not that you're perfect and never make mistakes. It's that you can enjoy the culture and be a part of it and communicate without too much effort. If you can do these things in a language, congratulations, consider yourself fluent. And if you can't yet, just keep going and you'll get there. And my goal is to be fluent in 10 languages by the time I'm 35. I've said it publicly now. You can follow my journey to that goal and also a lot of other random stuff here on YouTube. In the next video, I'm gonna talk about more general tips with learning a language, how to be realistic about it and not bullshit yourself and suffer. So stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, and see you in the next one. Bye!